All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Thank you so much for coming along to join us tonight. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Chelsea McGill, Thermomix consultant and team leader. I am team leader of the Therminators. Can you still hear me? My volume just went down. That was weird. I hope everyone can still hear me okay. I am team leader of the Therminators. We are a kind of a virtual team based in, well, I'm based in Bunyip, which is like southeast Victoria, and my team is in the area surrounding me, or a little bit of anywhere. So tonight we are putting on for you, thank you everyone. Tonight we are putting on our allergy-friendly class. We're going to mainly be focusing on gluten-free dishes with some dairy-free. Someone's just said that they can't hear. I'm not sure what's going on there. Steph, have you, Steph, maybe try just disconnecting your audio and reconnecting. And if that doesn't, oh, she can't hear me, so I don't know why I'm telling her that. Could someone pop that in the box for Steph to disconnect, please, and try again. So we are popping on our allergy-friendly class, and as I said, we're going to be focusing mainly on gluten-free with some dairy-free and some other tips and that around intolerances. So thank you again for coming to join us tonight. We are going to get straight into it, and I am first up cooking tonight. And when the other girls come onto screen, they will introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about themselves and what it is that they're making tonight. So I would love to know, if you currently have a Thermomix, which model do you have? Pop it in the chat and let us know. I'd also love to know, what was the reason for coming along tonight? Are you living with an intolerance and allergy? Are you cooking for someone with one? You're just interested? What was it? Pop it in the chat and let us know. The more we know about you, the better. Now, just lastly, before we get cooking, we do ask that everybody please stay on mute, just because when you come off mute, it causes a bit of background noise. But we would love for you guys to interact with us as much as possible. So please use our chat box below to interact, ask questions, whatever it is that you would like to know, pop it in the chat so we can answer it for you. We'll either read your question out and answer it out loud, or someone will just reply to you in the chat box. All right, so tonight I'm making a chicken and pear pie, and this one is gluten-free, and it has the most amazing pastry. Now, this is, it is one of those slightly longer dishes. So for time tonight, I have pre-made my pastry, which you can see here. This is one of the best gluten-free pastries I've ever eaten, hands down. I have a stepmom with celiac, so growing up, I ate quite a lot of gluten-free, and it's interesting seeing how bad some of the products are out there. So what I have done tonight, I've actually filmed myself making this video for you. So we will play that. And I'm going to talk you guys through how this pastry is made. All right. So as I said, tonight I'm doing the chicken and pear pie. This one is a cookie dough recipe. So I have just gone into my weekly planner, and you can see it there. Into our guided cooking, we've got our difficulty, prep time, total time, our portions, your ingredients, your steps, nutritional value, all those things. So it's asking me to grease a tin, and then it wants 140 grams of rice flour. Now, I don't buy rice flour. It is quite expensive and unnecessary, so you can mill up white rice in your Thermomix. So I have just hit the little house button to exit my recipe. You can see my little green bookmark is saved my recipe where I'm at. And I've just set 30 seconds on my timer, and I'm going around to speed 10. Now that has whizzed around for 30 seconds. Lid's coming off. And in 30 seconds, we've just made rice flour, guys. The milling function on the Thermomix is just amazing, especially when you are following a gluten-free diet. Being able to mill things like rice flours, rice to rice flour is a huge money saver. And it just makes life much simpler. Going in with 70 grams of arrowroot flour, which is another gluten-free flour, then 90 grams of corn flour. You will notice that this recipe is a mixture of different flours to give you the perfect consistency. Now, I was a little bit short on corn flour, so I have just topped it back up with some more arrowroot flour to get me up to that 90 grams. Quarter teaspoon of salt. Has anyone made gluten-free pastry before? Pop it in the chat and let us know. 2 teaspoons of xanthan gum. You'll see quite a lot of us using this tonight. This is, if you do follow a gluten-free diet, you have probably used it. It's like a stabilizer, and it helps gluten-free food to stay together, to rise, all those different kind of things. You can just buy it at Woolies in the health food aisle. Lid on. We've got 5 seconds on our timer. Turning our dial around to speed 4, following that guided cooking. So we're just mixing all those dry ingredients together. All right, we're going to go in with 160 grams of hot chilled butter. So really, really important when you're making pastry that your butter is chilled. If it isn't, it will melt very easily. Now, if you are following a dairy-free diet, you can substitute for Nuttallets, or there are some different substitutes that you can use. When you are making pastry, butter is always the best, but obviously if you are dairy-free, there are lots of substitutes out there that will work as well. Again, just making sure that they are chilled, or if not, frozen. All right, 10 seconds around to speed 6. So we are just whizzing that all together. Oh, Maria, fabulous. Maria's just said her sister and sister-in-law are here watching with her, and her sister is gluten-free. Now, it did ask for 1 egg, and I missed that. I remembered a little bit later, so I will add that egg in afterwards. But there you can see we have whipped up that butter with those flours, chopped that up really finely. A teaspoon of apple cider vinegar. And I noticed no one said they've made gluten-free flour before, gluten-free pastry before. Is anyone buying gluten-free pastry at the moment? Pop it in the chat and let us know. 40 grams of chilled water. So I've just used water with some ice cubes in it to chill it. Again, really important when you're making pastry that it is chilled, because we don't want our butter melting or our Nuttallets melting. 10 seconds and around to speed 6. Because this is something that we need to work quite a bit. That chilled is going to make a massive difference. 10 seconds on speed 6, going around. I made a pastry and it didn't work out, so I used a packet pastry instead. Which recipe did you try, Molly? And then we just go around for 30 seconds on our kneading function. So if you haven't used our kneading function before, 2 minutes of kneading in your Thermomix is the equivalent of 20 minutes of kneading by hand. So 30 seconds of kneading this one is equivalent to 5 minutes of kneading. So I absolutely love how fast kneading is in the Thermo. Is anyone using their kneading function at the moment? If you are, pop it in the chat and let us know what you're making. So there we have our beautiful pastry. So pop it over on your Thermomat, and what you want to do is twist your blades backwards, forwards, backwards, forwards. If you don't have a Thermomat, you want to do it on some baking paper or a floured work surface. Twisting those blades backwards and forwards is going to help your dough to fall out and come off the blades. You can see already that this is a beautiful pastry. Like I said, for a gluten-free pastry, this one is amazing. It is not dry and cardboardy, as Lizzie's just said in the chat, as the store-bought ones can be. It is really soft and beautiful to work with. So I'm going to wrap that up, and then that needs to go in the fridge for 30 minutes. So 30 minutes later, we pull it out. You can see it's firmed up a little bit, which is great. Now it wants you to pop it on on baking paper, between 2 pieces of baking paper. Now, normally I would just use my Thermomat when I am rolling. So your Thermomat generally isn't, it won't stick to. But if you, with the gluten-free pastry, it is quite a stickier pastry compared to gluten pastries. So putting it between the baking paper means it's not going to stick at all. So it wants you to remove a third. Now I have put this in fast forward, because it did take a little bit. So remove 1/3 and keep that to the side. And then we're going to roll out 2/3 between our baking paper to about 25 centimeters. Now our Thermomat does have those measurements on there to help you as well. So measuring it out using that Thermomat underneath between our baking paper until we get a nice even consistency. And I like to use my pie tin to check how we're going, where we're at, for size. So pop your pie tin in the middle and check that you've got enough room to come up the edges. That's going to help you get your size right. Flip it over with your baking paper and then pop it gently into your tin. Now, if you roll the extra over and then roll your rolling pin over it, it'll give you a really nice finish on the sides of those of that pie case. And then we are going to pop that one back in the fridge for 15 minutes. And then that extra third there is going to be the lid of our pie. So we are going to pop that one, the lid of the pie, back in the fridge while we don't need it. And then this has just come out of the fridge again. And we're going to fill it with some baking paper and our pie weights. You could use rice, baking beads, pie weights, whatever it is that you've got. And then into the oven for 20 minutes on 180 degrees or until a little bit brown. Now I'm just going to stop sharing. And here is that final result. So we have that beautiful pie case. It's probably hard to tell that it is a really, really nice pastry, but you will see when we cut it afterwards just how amazing it is. So we're going to move back to our live cooking. Not many of you have made gluten-free pastry by the look of it. A couple have bought it and said that it is very expensive and like cardboard. So I can tell you, as someone who does eat gluten and is used to eating gluten-filled pastry, this recipe here is amazing, and it is a pastry that I would be more than happy to use to eat constantly. Lizzie's just asked a great question. Could you use it for a sweet pastry? And you 100% could. I would just add like a tablespoon of icing sugar in with those flours, and that's going to give you that slightly sweeter one. So you could use that for, you know, your meringue pies, your custard tarts, whatever it is that you want to be making, but 100% that could be a sweet pastry as well. So you could just follow the start of this recipe to whip up that pastry for something else. But as I said, it is such a great pastry. So I've made my pastry. So I'm back in my weekly planner and in my cookie dough recipe. I'm going to click on step 8, which is our chicken and pie filling, chicken and pear pie filling. So that skipped me through. So there was 29 steps there. So instead of cooking 29 times, I was able to just jump forward. Preheat our oven to 200, pump it up a little bit. Then we're going to place 2 garlic cloves. My cloves are really small, so I'm going to put in 4 instead of 2. And some leek cut into pieces. Leeks were on sale today, which was nice. I always think they're so expensive, and I hate wasting that giant end of the leek. Now we've got 3 seconds, and our guided cooking wants us to turn that around to speed 7. You could definitely add some other veggies in there. You could add some carrots or some greens of some sort if you wanted to add something else to it. Look at that. In just 3 seconds, we have chopped that leek and that garlic. Chopping is one of those things that I love about my Thermomix. Like, I love the fancy stuff that it does, but sometimes just the chopping, like 3 seconds done, especially with onions. 50 grams of butter. I didn't pre-weigh this one. And then we have got 3 minutes on our timer using our Varoma temperature, which is our steaming temperature. And then we're around to speed 1. So we're going to let that saute for a minute, and then we'll keep moving on with our recipe. So we didn't have too many people saying they were using their kneading function. So tell me, guys, is there anything that you're using for your gluten-free baking at the moment with your kneading function? Or is there anything that you would like to be making with that kneading function? If you are gluten-free or anything in general, pop it in the chat and let us know. Just reading the comments for a sec. Oh, Molly tried a regular recipe and sub with gluten-free products. Yeah, and sometimes it can be tricky. You know, the gluten-free substitute when we're doing breads and pastries doesn't always equate to the gluten one. So a lot of the time you can't just find a gluten pastry recipe and use gluten-free ingredients. The ratios tend to be a little bit out. It is a different thing to work with. So I definitely recommend sticking to a gluten-free pastry or bread recipe, whatever it is. On Cookie Dough, you guys can search for gluten-free. So if you put gluten-free or you put dairy-free, egg-free, whatever it is, you can pop that into the search bar and you will get some results. You can search for cookbooks. There are heaps of gluten-free and dairy-free cookbooks on Cookie Dough. And the other thing that you can do is use filters. So there are filters on Cookie Dough on the app or the website, and you can filter and add tags. So you can pop the gluten-free tag, the dairy-free tag, egg-free, whatever intolerance it is that you're looking for, you can pop that tag in your search, and that will bring up all of those recipes on Cookie-Doo that have been tagged gluten-free, dairy-free. Dairy-free is a much easier one when we're talking substitutions. So very easy to substitute things for, you know, cream for coconut cream, or, you know, there are the vegan kind of cream substitutes now as well. So most of those things are fine, but when we're talking gluten-free, it is a little bit of a different ball game. Steph said she sucks at bread rolls, fails every time, not gluten-free, just normally. Oh, Steph, we did a bread class recently. You'll have to check out the recording and get some bread tips from that. Molly made a pizza dough the other day. Awesome. Pizza scrolls are my weekly go-to for the family. Would love to do that gluten-free for my sister. Awesome. It is definitely trial and error, especially when we're talking about intolerances. I just left something in the fridge, excuse me. Kirsty is going to be making a gluten-free bread tonight. I'm really excited to show you guys that one because it definitely does not taste like cardboard. So 600 grams of chicken thigh. Going in, just cut roughly into pieces. I've got 650, but that's totally fine. Now, I want some fresh thyme. I don't have any time growing, and I refuse to pay $4 or $5 for a few sprigs of herbs, so I'm just going to use dried. Totally fine to substitute. Some black pepper. And we are going to cook that one for 5 minutes on 90 degrees and around to speed 1. Now we are using our reverse function. So when you can see that little green reverse blade, that means you are in reverse. So your blades are going backwards. Now the back side of the Thermomix blades are blunt, and that is for stirring. So it's going to help keep that chicken together rather than pulling it apart. Chicken thigh will pull apart less as well than chicken breast. If you are substituting breast for thigh, just be wary that it will pull apart a little bit more. Now, when I hit the preview button, it's going to show me my next step. So then I'm going to scrape down sides with a mixing bowl. Place a small bowl on mixing bowl lid, weigh in 50 grams of water, add 2 to 3 tablespoons of corn flour, stir to dissolve. Then we're going to add that in. Really important to add your corn flour and your water together before putting it in, otherwise your corn flour will just end up a big lump inside your dish. We're going to add some veggie stock paste, some white wine, and then we've got 5 minutes there on our timer. We're going to add in our pear. So we have here some pear. I have just chopped this up into little cubes. That's just 2 pears. I have peeled them. They're quite firm. They're not ripe at all, which is good. If you use overripe pears, they will just end up kind of mushing in there. So we're going to add that in, and then we're going to cook for 8 minutes. Then we're going to add 50 grams of cream. Now, if you're dairy-free, you want to use coconut cream or a vegan cream, or if you aren't, you can just use regular cream. And then it cooks for another 2 minutes. And then we're going to transfer it into our case, make our lid, and pop it back into the fridge, into the oven, not the fridge. I'm going to complete that off screen, but I will be back to roll out my lid and show you that before I pop it into the oven. So we are going to head on over to Kirsty, and she's going to introduce herself and start cooking.
Hi guys, my name is Kirsty. I am the Naked Mixer, fully clothed though. Tonight I'm making 2 gluten-free dishes. I'm making the gluten-free bread and some cheese puffs. So we're going to get started with the dough because it needs some proving time. I'm just going to turn my camera. Have any of you attempted any gluten-free bread? Have we made our own, or are we buying gluten-free bread? I was doing a bit of research before, and it's quite costly. I think, you know, averaging between $5 to $10. So that's quite a huge expense to the grocery bill these days. I'm just going to go to my week, and you'll see there I've got my gluten-free bread and my Brazilian cheese puffs. I'm going to click on gluten-free bread, and I'll just show you. So it's got difficulty medium, prep time 20 minutes, total time an hour and 20, serving 12 slices, depending on how you cut bread. I'm not very good at cutting bread, so we'll see. You've got your ingredients down here on the left-hand side. Now, this is in ounces, and your Thermomix will automatically convert from grams to ounces for you. So you've got your ingredients down the left-hand side, and then you've got your nutrition, and then go back up, and you've got your, oops, got a bit excited. You've got your steps down the right-hand side, utensils that may be needed, and your tips and tricks. I always like to check out tips and tricks for recipes that I haven't done before. So we're going to go back up, and we're going to start cooking. Now, I have subbed quite a lot of ingredients out of this, which is, you know, just good to show you that it's guided cooking, not set in stone. So it's asking for 4 ounces of white basmati rice. Now, I've got brown basmati rice, and that's what I'm going to use throughout the whole recipe. So there's 3 different types of rice that I asked for, and I've used the same type of rice for all. So my scales are tared down to 0. I'm just going to weigh out 4 ounces. I'm a bit more sketchy when weighing out ounces because I'm not as familiar as with grams. So we've got 3.8, that's fine. And then it's saying 4 ounces of brown rice. So again, I'm using the same rice. Don't be afraid to, you know, chop and change ingredients. Google is your best friend when it comes to things like this. I'm not gluten-free or dairy intolerant, so it's a whole new world to me. But definitely, you know, if you don't have something in your pantry, Google, you know, type in, you know, what can be the substitute for such and such, and it will give you that. So again, it's asking for 3 ounces of millet grain. I didn't have that, and the substitute for that was rice again. So again, I'm going in with 3 ounces of the same rice. Just watching my scales there. I've gone a little bit over, that's fine. And now we're just going to mill those ingredients down. So I'm popping my lid on, measuring cup in. Next, so for a minute, it's already got the time set there for me, and around to speed 9, it says turn speed selector to speed 9, meanwhile follow the next step. I'm going to turn that to speed 9. It will I'm not sure if you can hear me, but the next step is asking for me to grease my tin. So I've got my bread tin here from the mixer, which I've greased, ready to go. I'll just wait for that to finish. So that's got 20 seconds to go, but I'm quite confident by the sound of my Thermomix that that's milled quite completely. Once you've had a Thermomix for a little while, you'll become, you know, quite confident with the sounds that it makes. And I'm, you know, definitely happy that that's milled to a perfect flour consistency. So I now have rice flour. So to buy rice flour, I think that was one of the ingredients that I didn't look up, but it's like somewhere about $5 to $6 again. So super expensive, much cheaper to be buying a bag of rice and to be milling your own rice in your Thermomix. Going next, 1 ounce of this flour, which I'm not going to pronounce. And we have a little group chat going about the way I pronounce things. I'm not very good at that. English is not my second language, but it might as well be. So for this flour, I am substituting for tapioca flour, so which is arrowroot flour. So it's just like that binding agent, like thickening agent. So we're going in with 1 ounce of that. As I said before, I've got quite a lot of ingredients that I've subbed in this recipe. But it just goes to show you, like, you know, look through your pantry, what you have before you go out and spend big on buying all these ingredients. 5 ounces of arrowroot or cornstarch flour. So again, I'm going to go in with my tapioca flour, weighing that out, going in with 5. And I actually don't think I have enough. So I'm actually going to continue the rest of that ingredients with corn flour, which is fine. When I've got 2.5, so I'm just adding in another 2.5 of corn flour. Again, like I said, this is, you know, it's a thickening, like binding part of the recipe to give it that consistency. Next, 1 ounce of chia seeds. I've just got mixed chia seeds. I buy a big bag in bulk. 1 ounce. And we've got some pumpkin seeds as well. My scales are tiered, weighing them in. I'm subbing this ingredient out as well, the xanthan gum. So you can sub it out for psyllium husk, which is something that I had in my pantry. We're just going in with 2 teaspoons of psyllium husk. I did all my Google research before on substitutes. Like I said earlier, Google is your friend when it comes to making recipes that you're not familiar with and ingredients that you don't have. Don't be afraid to substitute things out. Teaspoon of salt. And we're going to pop our lid on and we're going to mix those, we're going to combine those ingredients. So just for 10 seconds around to speed 4. Steph's just said in the chat, milling the rice like that, is that how I can use it to make rice flour cereal for my newborn? 100%, that's how you can do it. Much better than buying the store-bought. You can definitely make it yourself in your thermo. I don't have any recipes to forward on to you, but definitely have a look at the recipe community, because I had a look the other day and I know that there's some in there. So our ingredients are combined nicely now. You can see my seeds are nicely combined in there with my rice flour. Oops. We're going to transfer that to another bowl. So just another bowl, I'm just going to chuck that into. Just giving my blades a twist from the bottom, just to release anything that may be stuck around there. We're going to go forward with the wet ingredients. So we've got 2 tablespoons of honey. I need to make sure that I don't lick the tablespoon on camera, because that's when I'm baking at home. That is something that I tend to do. We had a meeting the other night and I was cooking during the meeting, forgetting that my camera was on. Meanwhile, I was making like a healthy cheesecake and licking my fingers and all the rest of it as it goes. So that was quite embarrassing. I promise I won't do that to you guys. So I'm just measuring out. I've just gone a bit over the tablespoon just to get the rest of it off. I'll just use my spatula to scrape it off instead of my fingers. Okay, next. 14 ounces of water, making sure my scales are tiered, weighing in that water. And then we're going to go in with our yeast. I'm not very good with ounces. If it was grams, I'd be right onto it. And there we go. Oh, we're exactly on 14, so that's a win. We're going to pop our 2 teaspoons of yeast. I've just got, I don't know what you call it, the canister yeast. Not fresh yeast. Can get from Coles and Woolies. Next, popping the lid on, and we're going to heat that to 37 degrees to activate our yeast. Well, here, sorry. So this is a UK American recipe, so it's not particular to what we normally do. So it's got 100 degrees Fahrenheit, which is equivalent to about the same. So 2 minutes, 100 degrees on speed 1. Let's read through. I'm up to date with the cat. Good. So the next part of the recipe, we can click through to preview. If you haven't updated your Thermomix yet, make sure you do, because that was one of the, it's been up for a while now, but I know a few customers that haven't updated, and that preview function. So once you already, so at the moment we're heating up, we're warming that mixture that's in the bowl, I can then click preview. So if I wasn't organized and I needed to get the ingredients ready, I can click preview and go through. So we need macadamia or sunflower oil, got that ready. We need some apple cider vinegar. You can go through and get all the ingredients that you need. So this recipe calls for 2 eggs. You definitely could make it dairy free and make like a flaxseed egg. So to make what they call a flax egg, you need 1 tablespoon of flaxseed meal and 3 tablespoons of water. You need to sit it then in the fridge for about 15 minutes until it sets, and then you can use that as your substitute for an egg. So this recipe calls for 2 large eggs, so you would do that twice. Like I said before, Google, sorry, my phone is going off. Google is your friend when it comes to substituting ingredients in recipes, especially when you've got intolerances. So you could totally make this gluten and dairy free by adding that flaxseed egg in there. Just going to go back to the bookmark. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. I don't know why. So I've previewed all through that recipe, and just to go back to the step that we're on, it's taking me back there because it's finished, but you just press the little green bookmark and it will take you back to where you were. So we're just going to go next. It's asking for macadamia oil or sunflower oil. Again, I don't have either of those, so I am substituting with grapeseed oil, which is a perfectly fine substitute for either of those. So again, 1 ounce of grapeseed oil. I think I'm actually getting better at measuring out ounces. Yep, 1.1. I was almost on the money before. Next, a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar or white wine vinegar. I've got apple cider vinegar. I do have it out. Here it is. So I'm just going to go within a little splash. And 2 large eggs. Like I said before, you make a flaxseed egg. I'm not doing that. I'm just going to use 2 eggs. Although I did find before, I have I've got my pantry organized in containers like this, and then I've got like a big container at the back of my pantry which has like all my extras and all the rest of it, and I found a whole heap of flowers and things that I didn't know I had, so hence all my substitutes. Otherwise it would have been a trip to the supermarket for tonight. Got my eggs in. We're going to add our flour back in and combine all those ingredients. I'm just popping all that back into the bowl. Now don't be alarmed when making this recipe. So we've got our measuring cup in, 15 seconds around to speed 5. Sorry, I wasn't going to try and talk over it. it is quite a runny consistency. Now it's asking me to scrape down the sides. You can see it's combined all those ingredients nicely. I don't want to tip it out too much or it's going to pour all over my bench. I don't need to scrape down the sides. It's quite a thin consistency. Again, it wants me to pop the measuring cup in, pop the lid on, and combine again for another 5 seconds on speed 5. So now it's telling me to transfer, just moving my, yep, that's what we want. My glider board. So it's saying transfer mixture to prepared loaf pan and leave to proof in a warm place until doubled in size for approximately 30 minutes. So you can see there, it's not like your typical dough. If it, you know, like your normal bread dough, it's very runny. Don't be afraid though. Pop it into your loaf tin. So I've greased this nicely. I've just sprayed it with some baking spray. So we're just going to pop that in there like that. And that's going to sit there for 30 minutes. Now I have made this recipe before, and in the method, it's telling me that it's going to double in size. Now, mine did not double in size, whether it's because I subbed so many ingredients out, but it still cooked and it was still delightful. So we'll leave this to sit for half an hour. It will thicken up and rise a little bit. Oh, I think my AirPods just went flat. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all good.
I hope so. Yeah, so that will thicken up in here, and it rose a little bit, not as much. So I'm just going to pop that to the side.
Kirst, I'm just going to cut in on you.
And I'm also making Brazilian cheese puffs. So I'm just going to continue on and make them. So I'm going to let that set aside, and then at the end I'll show you the loaf and the cheese puffs. So I'm going to get rid of that bowl and grab another one.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Oh, you can't hear me, can you?
No, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, just.
I'm just going to cut you off for 1 sec.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So just for a sec, I'm just going to finish this so I can get it into the oven for you guys. So this is the remainder of that pastry that we've got that we're going to make into our lid. So it needs to be the size of that, which is going to be just over 20 centimeters. So just rolling. It's been in the fridge, so it is a little bit firm. You just want to roll it out. I've just sprinkled a little bit of arrowroot flour onto my mat. Just as I said, your gluten-free pastry is a little bit stickier. So just going to roll until it is the right shape. I am no good at getting things round. If you've ever watched me cook before, you would know that. But a good trick, just cut these bits off and stick them back on, and that is going to mold together and help create the shape that you need. So roll. It's going to be great. Now here we have our mixture. We've got our chicken and our pear in there. Did add some cream, either coconut cream or regular. This is really quite thick from that corn flour and water. It smells amazing. Getting all that in there. It's quite a big mixture as well, which is great. The pastry is quite full. A little bit of a push down. And then we're going to pop our lid over the top. And then you just want to seal the edges around to your pastry if you can. Use your tin to chop that overhang off. Just want to patch any bits if you're like me and can't roll a circle. And there we have our pie. Gonna grab a knife, pop a slit through the middle to just release any steam. Then that one's gonna go into the middle, into the oven for about 40 minutes. I'm gonna get that in and I'll be back. We probably won't get to the end of baking time, but that's fine. But we'll cut back to Kirsty and I'll see you guys after. You there, Kirsty? Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, my AirPods cut out, so I couldn't hear, so I just kept talking. So I'm just going to exit this recipe. I've got my clean bowl ready to go. Go back to the home, back to my 3 lines here, and back to my week. It has bookmarked the recipe that I was doing, but that's okay. I'm just going to click on the cheese puffs. I'm going to click start cooking. It's asking me, you're about to start a new recipe, quick active recipe. Yes, completely happy to do so. Preheat oven to 220. I'm just going to pause it for a minute and up the temperature. I have made this recipe quite a few times, but had it set at 200, not 220. Just up to the bit. All right, next. Grease a 24-hole mini muffin tray. I've got my rose gold mini muffin tray here. Hot tip, if you buy anything rose gold from the mix shop, do not grease it, do not oil it, do not do anything to it. They are non-stick, not required for you to spray them with oil or anything like that. Once you do so, they are ruined and you'll need to continue to spray them all the time. Just letting you know, maybe from experience. Next, 70 grams of cheese. It's asking for the fancy cheese. I'm just using Colby cheese. Actually, I think this is just tasty cheese. You can use whatever you like. You can use mozzarella, whatever tickles your fancy, but this is just what I'm using today. I've got a bit over, it's 90 grams, but that's fine. I'm happy with that. Just going to pop the lid on and my measuring cup in. And we are going to grate our cheese. So it's got there 10 seconds on speed 9. I usually like to grate my cheese for about 7 for 7. So 7 seconds on speed 7. I'm just going to turn that down to 7. And then we're going to turn it around here. You can definitely hear, that's something that you do get familiar with. You can definitely hear the sounds of your Thermomix. So that's our cheese grated down. Next, we're going to add 160 grams of full cream milk. Has anyone made these cheese puffs? They are the perfect pair with any type of soup, pumpkin soup, hug in a mug. They're amazing. Just weighing out there, 160, again, a little bit over, but that's okay. 60 grams of cooking oil. I'm just, again, going to use my grapeseed oil. If I don't have vegetable oil or anything like that, grapeseed oil is my go-to. I tend not to use olive oil as it's a bit strong in flavour. So 60 grams of grapeseed oil. I've only ever seen them in the frozen section of the supermarket, never bought them though, or never made them. Molly, it's definitely time to make them. 1 egg. Next, 170 grams of our arrowroot flour. So that, again, that's the same as your tapioca flour. It's binding like your thickening agent. So I find these are good, especially for this recipe, because you need the entire contents of the container. And not that costly either. You know, so it's a good alternative to things like garlic bread and things like that. So I've just tipped the whole thing out. So it says 170 170, gosh, I cannot talk tonight, sorry guys. 175 grams, but coming up on the Thermomix is at 209, and that's fine. I'm a little bit over with the other ingredients, so I'm not concerned. A tablespoon of salt. To just throw it in. We're going to pop the lid on. I'm going to combine those ingredients. So we've got our time preset there, 20 seconds on speed 8. So that's all nicely combined. So you see, oh, once I lift it off, we've got like a batter there, a nice thick consistency. Then we go next, scraping down the sides of the mixing bowl with the spatula. I'm just scraping down the sides like so. Next, we're going to go back in for another mix. 5 seconds on speed 8. So you can see, again, it's nice and thick. Just move my Thermomix out of the way. I'm just going to scrape down the sides. We're going to pop that in into our muffin tray. I'm going to use the lid of my Thermomix, taking out the measuring cup. I'm going to use our cupcake pen. So this is available for purchase from the mix shop. Really handy for things like, you know, Saturday morning pancakes, muffins, all of those types of things. Your lid of your Thermomix sits perfectly on the top. And we're going to scrape in the contents of the bowl through the lid, making sure we're not getting any mess on the bench. Super, super handy. I'm just using my spatula to scrape around the blades and to scrape around the side of the bowl. I'm also using the long and skinny spatula. I just find it's really great for baking, trying to make sure you're getting everything you can off that bowl. It's a little bit skinnier than your normal spatula. It just gets around those blades a lot easier. So that's all in there nicely. And take that lid away. Pop the lid on. Now we just want to fill each muffin mold about 3/4 full with batter. Just giving it a little bit of a squeeze. Don't want to overfill, like so. I don't know if you want to cut to someone else, Chelsea, but then I will pop these into the oven on 220 degrees. I just upped it a bit for 12 to 15 minutes. You want to keep an eye on them. You definitely don't want to walk away because they easily burn. It's such a small amount to cook. So yeah, just making sure you're not overfilling those muffin molds. You can do them in bigger sizes if you like. You could use a full size muffin tin. I'm just using mini molds.
Thank you, Kirst. They are looking great. We'll be back to you shortly to see how they are. We're going to head over to Em, who's going to introduce herself and let you know what she's making.
Hey everyone, I'm Em from Mix It with Mrs. Rutsy. Is my camera a bit blurry? I've just, hold up. Maybe not.
All good.
How are we all? Sorry, Charles.
All good, Em.
Cool. How are we all tonight? I'm doing the chicken Kievs. So it is a recipe on Cookie Dough. So it's LCHF chicken Kievs. So low carb, high fat. Has anyone made it before? I feel like this is a pretty popular recipe, but I'd love to know if you've made it. Pop it in the chat box if you have, and I'll get started, guys. So we're actually using the coating of it. So instead of breadcrumbs, you'll be using almonds. So I'm going to pop in 100 grams of raw almonds. Yep, I've only got 50. That's completely fine. And I'm just going to mill these down now. So it's going to be a bit loud. Bear with me for a moment. Speed 9 for 5 seconds. Let's just make that. All right, let's have a look now. So that's milled it down. I really like the taste of the almond crumbs on the Kiev, so I don't like to blitz it any more than that. If you still think it's a bit too chunky for you, definitely pop it round again. So I'm going to now pop in oregano, onion powder. Again, pop in the spices that you like and that you have. If you haven't got it, skip it. If you want to put a bit of garlic powder in there, anything you like. Paprika, and then salt and pepper. Okay, and now speed 3 on reverse blades. So your blades are going to go the opposite way. It's not going to chop for 5 seconds. Going next, transfer into a bowl and set aside. So that's our coating for our chicken Kievs. So I'm just going to pop that in a bowl for now. And moving on to the next step. With the chicken Kievs, this is something that you can prep, you know, in the afternoon. I like to get all my dinners done in the afternoon, so that would chin out, and once hubby is home, you know, we can spend time together. So I do like to get all this done in the afternoon. This is one of the meals you definitely can. These chicken Kievs can be frozen as well, so you can freeze them up to a month in the freezer. Obviously, we won't be eating them tonight. We've had dinner, so I'll be freezing this batch. So I've just thrown in some Parmesan cheese. Once again, I buy my Parmesan in a block and I grate it myself. It is very much more cost effective. Very cost effective doing it this way. You'll notice in a lot of blocks of cheese compared to grated, there's a lot of preservatives in the grated cheese. So to avoid that and to cut the cost, always buy your blocks and grate it yourself. It takes 2 seconds in the thermo. So there we go there, got my grated. So transfer into another bowl and set aside. Okay. Going next, so now this is for the garlic butter. So it's 100 grams of salted butter, cooled and cut into pieces. If you are wanting to substitute your butter, you can always put your Nugglex in. You can do that. I'm just going to use some normal salted butter today. I just had a look at my Nugglex and there's not much in there, so I'll save that for sandwiches tomorrow, but I will use my blocked butters. So I'm just going to pop in 100 grams of that. I find it makes a lot of garlic butter, so 70 grams is fine. Going next, 2 to 3 cloves of garlic, throwing that in. Parsley, I have some parsley in the fridge. If not, it would be herbed, dried, sorry. I'm just going to make that do. To substitute the garlic, can you use garlic oil instead? You definitely could use garlic oil instead. dog now. If it's not a child, it's a dog. You definitely can use, you know, a garlic oil or substitute, or minced garlic, whatever you like. I wouldn't put a lot in there because the butter is, no, I think it's the butter and the oil. It might be, you're not going to get that form that you need to put inside the Kievs, but I'll definitely give it a shot. You could also substitute it. You know, you can do like maybe a cheese or bacon Kiev. It doesn't need to be the original garlic and butter. You can substitute for other items as well. I had a customer last week who did like pizza Kievs. So she done like a pizza sauce and did the bacon and cheese and wrapped it up, and her kids absolutely loved it. That's another idea. It's asking for basil, and I'm just going to skip that one today. I'm not going to pop it in. So at the moment, we've got our parsley, our butter, and our garlic. So for 40 seconds, speed 5. Out the way. I don't know if you can hear that, but the sound of the blades means, like Kirst said earlier, I can hear that the butter's gone around the bowl. So you can actually, you learn to hear your machine and you kind of know what it's doing. So that now, you can see it's at the size of my bowl. My blade isn't working. It's not really chopping much now. So you've got the option to take it out, pop it back in the middle, and go again. I'm kind of happy with that garlic butter how it is. So I'll get that out and you can have a look. It's chopped it up already straight away. I don't mind if my parsley's a bit bigger, but I'm definitely happy with that. That's there. That's our butter done. So we've done our crumb and we've done our grated Parmesan cheese and also our garlic butter. Going next now. Do not rinse, mix, and bowl, my favourite step. So 500 grams of our chicken breast. So I'm going to put our bowl back on. It's still got a bit of butter in there, which might be nice. Take that a bit out there. So I just got 2 breasts earlier. So I've just diced that real roughly. Haven't really taken much caution with that one. 460 grams, that's fine. Going next, 1 egg. Next, salt. And next. And reserve Parmesan cheese. So I'll pop in that Parmesan cheese we did in there. And now it's going to ask for 20 grams of the reserve crumb that we've done. I'm only going to put a little bit in because maybe we're short on the almonds. Going next now, popping our lid on, and another function that the Thermomix does, it actually minces meat. So I'm going to turn this now to speed 9 for 40 seconds. We'll wait for that to start before I can continue to talk in. Okay, so the function of the Thermomix, it can mince. When you're buying mince from the supermarket, it's obviously more pricey than it is. So if you're going to buy chicken mince, the price is higher than buying a chicken breast. What's usually in chicken mince, it's loaded with, you know, a lot of water and a lot of additives in there that isn't needed. So to cut out that, to save some money, definitely mince your meat yourself. Chicken's a great one to mince. That's 40 seconds and that's minced up. So now we're actually going to assemble the Kievs. I like to cook mine in the air fryer because I find I don't need to then fry it in oil or, you know, shallow fried, anything like that. I can just pop it straight in the air fryer and I get the best result. So I'm going to show you how to do these. So I'm just going to wet my hands. I've just got a ball here and I'm just going to flatten it out. So what you're doing now with your garlic butter, you're going to just grab a piece of it, pop it right in the middle. And rolling it around. What you're wanting to do now is make sure that garlic butter cannot be seen from the chicken, around the chicken. So make sure you're wrapping it up in like a parcel. And then what I do is I just kind of roll it around into a ball. So you're wanting to fully cover that garlic butter so none of it leaks out when you cook. What temp and time? So I do about 14 minutes at 180 degrees, depending on the size of the Kiev I'm making. Right now, I'm just going to roll it in that crumb. There we go. That's one Kiev done. I'll do one more before we swap over. I think you need to watch me roll all of them, but again, flatten them out. Probably should have wet my hands, but that's okay. I'll wet this one. Pop in a bit of the garlic butter in the middle. And again, folding up around that garlic butter. Wetting the hands so it doesn't stick to you as much. Wet that one a bit. And what you're wanting to do is just roll it. So you're rolling it to make sure it's fully enclosed. That is how quick and easy that is. You can prep that in the afternoon. You can prep it at night for the next night. You can sit them in the fridge for the night, or you can freeze them. So there we go. 2 chicken Kievs done in, I think, minimal time. There we go. Yeah.
Selena's just asked what temp and time in the air fryer.
Yeah, so I do about 14 minutes at 180 degrees. I will test it now. That's what usually works for me, obviously depending on the size. The great thing about this, I find, is that I can do you don't dip them in the egg before the crumb. So the great thing about this, I find, is I can make in different sizes. So if my toddler's having one, I'll make him a baby one. And I'll make my husband a larger one. So you can actually do the sizing that you want. If you want a bigger Kiev, you know, put more chicken in there, make it bigger, flatten it out a bit more, make it bigger, make some for the kids, you know. You can actually do the sizing of it. So you don't dip them in the egg before the crumbs. No, you definitely don't. You'll find it's quite sticky. That's why I said you wet your hand down first so it doesn't stick to your hand, but you'll notice the crumb will stick to it. So I will keep rolling these ones and I'll put it in the air fryer, and once it's done in about 14 minutes time, I will show you the goodness inside.
Awesome. Thank you, Em. We're going to cut over to Ash for our last dish of the night. She's going to introduce herself and tell us what she's making.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ash from That Thermomixing Life, and today I am making the gluten-free chocolate brownies. So I'm just going to get them started, and then I'll talk to you when it's starting to cook and melt. I will talk you through the substitutions that you can make. So, butter. To make it dairy-free, you can just use Nusslex. That's perfectly fine. I've preheated my oven, so that's fine. I've greased a tin. I've got that ready to go. Butter, 30 grams of water. Are you going to eat now, babe? You're going to eat now? Look, that's all right. Tied it over, that's fine. And the chocolate now. Dark chocolate, gluten-free. The linked chocolate, 80%, is gluten-free. So definitely use that. But if you don't like dark chocolate, then by all means, and you're not dairy intolerant, then by all means use just normal chocolate in there. Now, this is going to go for 5 minutes. So, speed 2. So, the butter are the substitute for Nusslex. The gluten-free. I couldn't get dairy-free white chocolate chips, so I am just going to use that, but by all means, again, if you're dairy intolerant, just use those. We have the gluten-free flour. Now you can make your own gluten-free flour, by all means do that. I just had some gluten-free flour there, so I just used my own. It's like a gluten-free flour mix, so this flour works just as fine. It does also call for 2 eggs. So again, you can use the black eggs if you like, if you can't have egg, but it does contain 2, so you'd have to double that recipe like Kirsty's. After that, it asks for vanilla essence. Now, I make my own vanilla paste. I don't know if anyone's seen me make this before. The natural vanilla store does beautiful bulk pods, and I make an entire batch. That's a brand new batch. Usually the store, you get the tiny little tub, I think 15 grams or whatever, for about $11. I've made this entire lot for about $15. So it's a massive saving, especially when you're using a lot of it. I just add it to everything now because I can, because it's cheaper. So by all means use that if you don't want to use extract. It's obviously nicer when you made it yourself. So this can definitely be gluten-free and dairy-free, which we're doing tonight. Other than, of course, the white chocolate chips. You have to find the white chocolate chips in dairy. I couldn't find them, so I'm just going to use the normal ones. It could also be egg-free, I suppose, if you use your flaxseed, so it could be really nice. That's gluten flour, though, like Kirsty's, doesn't rise like a normal brownie. So I'll just show you here. Because I had a little bit of cooking time, so you can see it's still a really good size. Probably a better size, actually, because you don't feel so guilty eating them, but they don't rise like a normal brownie. And like Kirsty's, it's quite a thin mixture. So that's just melting the butter and the chocolate there. We've still got 2 minutes 30. I'd love to know if anyone's made some gluten-free desserts recently. It's gluten-free, I have to admit, it's completely new to me, as we don't have anyone that is celiac or gluten intolerant. But I'd love some ideas.
Ash, well, we've still got 2 minutes. We might just pop over and see Kirsty's cheese puffs. Kirsty,
Yeah,
those
cool.
cheese puffs ready? And then we can come back to you.
Yeah, sounds good.
They are ready. Our bread is almost ready as well. We've just recently renovated our kitchen, so you probably hear me say it all the time. I'm still getting used to my new oven. I think if any of you have been on, I think it was my last cooking class, my oven decided to die, but that has soon been fixed, so that's good. So my cheese puffs are done. So they just slide out nicely. I'm just going to grab a plate so I don't burn my fingers. These are really nice. I normally make them in like the bigger muffin mold. And it's a really nice, alternative to having bread with soup. So they just come out nice and easy. And if one is not so hot, I'll break one apart for you to show you how nice and cheesy they are on the inside. Right, just get a clean cloth.
I did just pop in the chat box as well, Kirst, that you can use like oat milk or almond milk for these, and you can definitely use like a bio cheese or something as well, which I have done and works really, really well for those with dairy intolerance. Yeah,
like the lactose-free cheeses, they're just, they mimic the exact same as a normal cheese, so the perfect alternative. But as you can see, I'm sorry, I am using a cloth because they are burning hot, but you can see as I break them apart, they are amazing. Delicious. The perfect, like I said, the perfect side to a soup. Amazing. I need to put these away before I eat them all.
I tried to explain these to someone the other day. Give me your description of a Brazilian cheese puff, because I want to hear how someone else described it.
It's funny you say that, because I tried to explain it to my mum the other day without her seeing them. Mum doesn't own a Thermomix. She's a very old bog lady. Explaining them to her. It's like a burst, it's kind of like mozzarella cheese, like crunchy but delicious. Amazing. It's
probably one of the hardest things. Yeah,
it
one
really
of the hardest
is.
things
But
to describe.
they're not really, they're not that great on the eyes, but can you say, like, they're just absolute perfection. Like, if you like cheese, you could even just have these. Do you know what would be amazing? To have like a platter, you know, and then to have these on the side, like fresh, like instead of like a cob dip or something like that, to have these on the side would be amazing with a bit of salami. Oh, perfect. Absolutely.
They go really well with the chunky dips on cookie dough, like the pesto chunky dip or the like the sun-dried tomato chunky dip. Yeah, good one. Awesome.
So good.
That looks amazing. We'll come back to see your bread shortly, Kirst.
No worries.
Back to you, Ash.
Cool. So that's done. It's melted beautifully. So you can see there. I think it's the water that makes it a little thinner. So we have 100 grams of caster sugar and basically, it's just going to mix that for 10 seconds just to incorporate it all. I was a little worried when I saw how thin it was, but it turned out perfectly. Okay, so 2 teaspoons of natural vanilla extract. Because I make my own, I don't have to be stingy, so I just kind of free pour. So 2 teaspoons of natural vanilla extract, 2 eggs. Again, you could do your flat egg here. 2. You can see how easy this is. It's just a matter of adding a few ingredients together. 50 grams of gluten-free flour mix. I obviously just had the gluten-free flour that I bought from the shop. And a pinch of salt. I'm not going to do the salt because I don't know how much salt's actually in the nut flex, so I'll keep that out. Insert the measuring cup. Lid. We've actually just got all that's all the ingredients. So I'm just going to add in those last few chopped chips, and then they're ready to go. So let's see if I can put you down a little bit. This next 80 grams of white chopped chips. I'm actually just going to, as you can see here, we've still got a little bit around the edge, and that happened to me before. So I'm actually just going to push that down so that it mixes in with the egg whites, the white chopped chips. It says 80 grams. I actually only had the one bag, so I think it's about 110, so that's fine. I mean, who doesn't love normally I put the whole bag in, so I'm sure it'll be all good. It says whole raw macadamia nuts. Now, this is perfect for school lunch boxes, a little piece of this. So I'm not going to add the macadamia nuts in, but that would be really nice as well. But again, of course, if you've got friends with nuts, allergies or whatnot, then you just leave that out. Could be substitute for a nut that they do alike. So, well, they're not allergic to, I should say. Stirring those again for 10 seconds and we're done. Show you the consistency of this mixture. All right. Transfer into prepared tin and bake for 25 minutes. So you can see there, it is, I don't want to tip it out too much, but it is quite thin. I'll just tip it into the pan so you can see. As you can see with like the other recipes, there are so many substitutions you can make to make this dairy-free, gluten-free, egg-free, nut-free. There's no limitations really. So I'll put that on pre-pan in a second, but that is it as far as the mixture. Just needs to go in the oven. So I made some earlier so you can see them. As I showed you before, we've got them there as a nice little lunchbox snack or a little morning tea. But I've also got one here that's got coconut yogurt. Now, coconut yogurt, obviously you can buy the shops everywhere. This is the Browns one, actually. It's really good. I'm going to start making it myself. But if you haven't looked on Cookie Dough, there is a recipe for coconut yogurt. So again, perfect for lactose intolerant people. It just needs obviously time to ferment. Use the fermentation mode in the TM6 and then time in the fridge. So, sorry about that, just the finger in there, but it is really good. So another alternative if you would like. I think this one's just going to go and get eaten right now. So yeah, that was it's as simple as that, and it was certainly gluten-free, dairy-free, nut-free, and could be egg-free.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ash. Appreciate it.
No
For those of you that don't know Ash is over in Perth, so it's only 7 p.m. in Perth, so it's a tricky time to get on and do a cooking class with us when you've got kids. So extra big thank you to Ash for cooking tonight. Those brownies look amazing, and I look forward to making those.
Yes, they're very good.
We'll just jump back to Kirst to see her bread and how that is, and then we'll go to Em to see her Kievs and my pie, and then we're all done.
I've got cheese puffs in my mouth because they're just like the perfect bite-sized deliciousness. So I've got my bread here. I did make a loaf earlier today. So you can see though, like it's really soft. It's not your normal, you know, I find, well, not that I find, but you know, any gluten-free bread that I've eaten has been like cardboard. This is really soft, really, really soft. Cuts really nicely. I'll store this in my bread bag. Where is it? That will store nicely in my bread bag. You can purchase these from the mix shop as well. This also can go in the freezer. So what I will do with this loaf, as the rest of my family will not eat this, it'll just be for myself. I'll continue to slice it up. I'll pop it in this bag and it'll go into the freezer and it'll store quite nicely. But yeah, definitely, you know, definitely soft and amazing. Give it a go.
That's so impressive, Kirst. Like I said, my stepmom is celiac, and the amount of times I've eaten bread at their house, I just thought that is disgusting. It is rock hard, and you know, $12, $15 a loaf, like sometimes for gluten-free bread. So that looks amazing. We also how easy it was. That looks really soft and fluffy. So thank you so much for cooking.
I'll work out tonight the breakdown of cost. Of what I didn't have time today, so. But I'll definitely work out tonight, like how much it costs to make the loaf compared to, like I said, what it store bought. Yeah, anywhere from, like what Chelsea said, $5 to $15. Like, it's insane. Being punished for having some sort of intolerance. It's not very fair.
Thank you again, Kirsty. If you don't, please follow Kirsty at TheNakedMixer. She does wear clothes, I promise. Thank you so much for cooking for us tonight, Kirsty. And we're going to jump over to Em and see how have we got a Kiev ready?
Yeah, I've done one. Sorry, I'm going to cut open. I'm a bit worried. Let's see. So I've got my 3 there. I've obviously made a bigger size one. Roll it to the size you like. Let's have a look if it is garlicky. So that was 12 minutes at 180 degrees. Oh, yeah.
Oh, amazing.
So good.
That looks fabulous. Thank you so much, Em. If you're not following Em, you can find her at Mixing with Mrs. Rutsey on Instagram, and you can check out what she's making. But that looks fabulous. Thank you so much for showing us that dish tonight, Em. I appreciate it.
No worries.
All right. Is that everyone? That's everyone. All right. Now my pie wanted to be baked for 40 to 50 minutes. I've just baked it for 25 because we'll eat this tomorrow night for dinner. So I will pop it back in the oven tomorrow night. But you can see here a beautiful gluten-free chicken and pear pie. So this, as I said, honestly, the best gluten-free pastry you'll ever eat. You can definitely make it into a sweet pastry by adding a little bit of icing sugar in. But really easy to make. This whole dish is about a 2.5 hour start to finish, but it is worth making because it is amazing. You could also make your pastry the night before, like or earlier, like I did, to save some time. But I will pop some photos on my Instagram later, or tomorrow night once we kind of serve that up as well. But I'm just going to pop that in the fridge once it cools. And like I said, I'll put that back in the oven for about 20, 25 minutes tomorrow night and finish that cook off and heat it up. Huge thank you to everybody for coming along to our class tonight, and a massive thank you to the girls that cooked with me. We don't get paid to put on these classes, but we do them to help you in your Thermomix journey and ensure that you're feeling really inspired to try new things and to make sure you are getting the most out of it. So big thank you to the girls. Again, if you're not following them, please do so. I did pop their Instagram names into the chat box. Show them some love on Instagram. If you have any questions about hosting your own cooking experience, getting yourself some host rewards, purchasing a Thermomix, or possibly joining our team, please yell out and let the girls know. If you did watch us tonight and you thought I could do this, it's probably because you could. You'd probably do a great job at it. We're always looking for people to come along and join our team. And we do have our business kit, which is currently reduced to just $62. So half price. If you already have a TM6 on your bench, you can come along and do what we do for just a $62 outlay. The other option is if you don't yet have a Thermomix, you can come on and earn a Thermomix, which is an amazing opportunity as well. So again, please reach out to the girls if you have any questions at all. And we will be back in the next few weeks with our next online classes. If you have any suggestions of what you would like to see, please let the girls know on Instagram, because we love to make sure that you are getting the most out of these and happy with what we are putting on. So thank you again, everybody. We hope we have showed you how to make some beautiful gluten-free or dairy-free dishes. Gluten-free living doesn't have to be boring or taste like cardboard. So thank you so much, everybody, and we will see you all soon. Have a great night.
Yeah.
All right, good work, guys. We didn't have as many on as we usually have, but when it's something specific like, you know, gluten-free, it doesn't appeal to everyone, but we still had 31 on out of 37, which we only had 6 not turn up, so that's awesome. So well done, guys. Thank you so much for cooking.
I feel like they were pretty engaged, though. You know, some they're not. And I think that one, at least you had people on there that really wanted to be.
100%. Less people, but more engaged. Yeah, definitely. Quite a few questions coming in, that kind of stuff, which is great. Do we want to get a quick photo? Em, are you right? You can just leave your food on the table and hold the baby.
I literally just hear Kate screaming the whole time. Sorry,
Crazy, my face is. I had my eyebrows done the other day, so like I've got that Vaseline on there, and my whole forehead is crazy.
All right.
Dad, you're about to be my picture. Sorry, hang on 2 seconds. You're about to be my picture. Sorry.
All right, everyone stay. I'm gonna lose my pie. All right, everyone say cheese. Awesome. Amazing. All right, thank you so much, guys. I'll go through the reg report in the morning and I'll pop this on YouTube as well. So thank you heaps for cooking, guys. I love it when you put your hand up, and I really appreciate you all giving up your night. So thank you. Pop some photos in the group chat as well.
Thanks, Charles.
Thank you. Thanks,
Right,
Charles.
guys. Hope you're okay.
Thanks.
Bye.